Hey lovelies, so welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Let's talk about the latest episode of Married to Medicine. So first of all, I can't believe I'm saying it, but Toya seems to be the voice of reason this season. Now, I will say there is something she did say later on that I did not agree with, but so far she generally seems to be a good voice of reason this season. So she asked Dr. Eugene whether or not he had reached out to Dr. Gregory. Dr. Eugene said he hadn't reached out yet and that he wanted to give Dr. Greg some time to calm down and didn't want to poke the bear, right? So personally, I feel like even if you want to give your friend some time to calm down, I think still dropping a message saying, I'm so sorry. I hope you are okay. Please let me know if you need anything. That's enough. You don't have to call them in that moment if you feel like they need a break, but a message at least letting them know that you are thinking of them and that you're here if they want to talk is the least that I feel like you can do as a friend. Now, this is just my opinion, but I feel like people do things differently. So I am glad that Toya did call it out and say that they should have also reached out to Greg because no one has reached out to Greg after the couple's trip incident, okay? So I do think it's very interesting that it almost feels like the rest of the couples are just like they can't be bothered with Dr. Greg and Sweet Tea, which I will talk about in a little bit more detail later on. Now, Quad came over to Dr. Heavenly's house. She talked a little bit about how traumatizing the trip was and that she never wants to put her man in such a position again. Now, my thing is, I hear what you're saying, girly, but I feel like in a way you did put him in that position. You set him up, in my opinion, because you started the whole situation. Now, I know there are lots of Quad fans and stuff, and it's all good. However, if you go back and watch that scene where the whole thing started off, she kept saying, Sweet Tea this, and you guys need to have more sex and all these different things. Like, girl, mind your business. Stay over there. Stay over there with your new man. That's it. That's all. So it did feel like she was definitely trying to push buttons, and she did. And of course, I understand how King might have been feeling like he needed to defend his babe, which I guess is fair enough. Now, I personally think he took it too far, but we'll come back to that when we talk about it. So Heavenly and Quad talk about the fact that the group is divided, and she was saying that she thinks Dr. Gregory and Sweet Tea need some time away from the group because Quad and them can't be in the same space. Here's my thing. I definitely feel like they are trying to isolate Sweet Tea and Gregory in this season. I really feel that way. I feel like they brought Greg and Sweet Tea on because initially they were trying to either give Quad a storyline, and then now that they've used her and cemented Quad's space in the group, I feel like now they want to get rid of Sweet Tea and Dr. Greg. It's like, we no longer need you. Now, Quad is basically dating a man. She's in a relationship. He's been brought into the group. So they don't feel like they need Sweet Tea and Dr. G anymore. I do also think it's interesting that after the backlash that they got from the Quad stans, they are now trying to suck up to Quad, in my opinion. It feels like Heavenly is the queen of this, and then the other girls are also all sucking up to Quad because they do not want that smoke. So Quad suggests that she wants to have a girls' day and they should do something over at her house. The girlie's just spending time, checking in. She said that she's not going to send an invitation to Phaedra. I'm like, girl, Phaedra don't even want to come, so it's cool. And she's also not inviting Sweet Tea. Now, I understand why she wouldn't want to invite Sweet Tea. Would you invite Sweet Tea in that situation? Of course not. So I'm not even mad at Quad for that at all. I wouldn't invite Sweet Tea as well if I was Quad. We ain't cool like that. And considering all that happened, I'm not about to invite you over to my house until we've at least cleared the air before then. So let's move on to Toya's party, honey. Toya loves a good party and I'm here for it. At least somebody is bringing some calm zen energy to Married to Medicine, because lately it's been the Mean Girls Club. I'm not here for it. I am loving the fact that Toya is still giving us the parties. She's giving us the lax, calm zen energy this season, because we need it. Now, Toya basically invited the group to a dance rehearsal where she wanted to invite them to her party for Dr. Eugene and her 13 years anniversary? Let me know if I'm correct about that. This is just from memory, okay? So she basically invited them all over. And then one thing that was interesting is Contessa exposed that Dr. G is trying to get a restraining order against King. So everyone is looking like, wait, what? Like, what is going on? There wasn't any sort of assault. However, Contessa was like, there was an attempted assault. So people were like, I think Simone said that, it was a B move. My thing is this. I don't necessarily know if I personally would call the police. I guess it depends, really. It depends. I may or may not call the police. Maybe if I was on a reality TV show, I might be like, yeah, who cares? But I don't know. I really don't know. I can't say. But I feel like it is weird that these people that are meant to be doctors are trying to make Dr. G feel some type of way about the fact that he called the police. People are allowed to handle things differently. Just because you wouldn't call the police does not mean the other person can't decide to call the police. In my opinion, I don't see it for Dr. Greg. You guys know I was talking about his behavior last week, but I just think if somebody removes their shirt and then they are charging towards you, wouldn't you feel like, yo, what the heck? Yeah, so I understand feeling like, okay, I'll call the police. Now, for me, if you didn't make contact, then maybe cool. But if you made contact, then I would probably be like, yeah, nah, you ain't getting away with this. If I have to whoop that ass or report you to the police, then something's going to have to give. This is just me thinking. Now, who knows? I hope I never have to be in that kind of situation ever in life. I don't think I would be. But like I said, maybe Dr. G didn't even think he was ever going to be in that situation. These things happen. I just don't like the way people were trying to make it seem like it wasn't a big deal. If you were there and somebody charged towards you, you may not feel the same way that you are currently feeling in this moment. That's just my opinion. I do think it was interesting that Dr. Damon said he supports Quad and King in this situation. I do feel like Dr. Damon is petty. You guys remember I talked about him early on in the season, and I said that the way he's moving towards Dr. G, this man clearly is a petty man. So I am not surprised that he is saying that he's taking King's side. He's still salty about the whole thing that happened with Dr. G, in my opinion. So I'm not surprised about that at all, because unless there are things that were not being shown and has been edited out, it definitely looked like King was the aggressor in that fight. Don't forget, Sweetie was already in a mood. Dr. Gregory was trying to calm her down. Then King walks over to Dr. Gregory to pull him aside. That was inappropriate. That was not the right time. I would have even been pissed in that moment, saying, I'm in the middle of speaking to my wife. You can't just pull me away to have a conversation when I'm trying to comfort my wife. So I feel like King knew exactly what he was trying to do in that moment. And to me, that is what determines whether or not you are the aggressor. I do think there's also a point where there was retreat. It felt like things were, maybe both of them were just like, okay, it is what it is. It is what it is. And then King charged at him. It's like saying it's self-defense. You can't say there's self-defense when, in most cases, especially when you decide to retreat. Let's say, okay, we've moved on from that. We've talked about it. We've moved on. And then you want to come the next day to then run up on me. That doesn't make any sense. That can't be said as self-defense. That sounds like you are the aggressor in this situation. In my opinion, that's just how I see it. And I know a lot of people see it differently. Just be respectful in the comments. We don't have to agree. Okay? Now, let's keep going. Toya had a sit down with Sweet Tea and Mimi. So Mimi is the new girl who is a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I can't remember. But I thought it was interesting that the conversation was very weird, in my opinion, because I don't know if they've edited a lot of things out of this episode, and that's why the conversation felt a little bit weird. But Toya was basically trying to gauge like where Sweet Tea was with the whole thing that happened. And it felt like Sweet Tea was basically deferring to Greg and did not want to speak about the specifics. So for instance, the fact that Gregory filed some sort of report with the police, she did not want to speak about it. There was also Toya trying to confront her that Sweet Tea does more than yelling and that she also has to extend grace to other people. I thought that was very interesting. And especially because from what we're seeing, we're not necessarily seeing Sweet Tea getting out of hand. The only thing that we see is Sweet Tea trying to defend Dr. G in the combat when King was charging towards Dr. G. So that's the only thing I feel like we saw. So, like I said, I don't know if there's anything else. Now, I do know Dr. Heavenly be out here saying that Sweet Tea can be aggressive, all that kind of stuff. We don't know because we are not seeing it, or maybe it is not the truth. So, I do not know whether or not, from what we are seeing on the screen, I don't really get the accountability that Toya wants Sweet Tea to take, especially in relation to this fight. Now, if we're talking about the night before, I feel like both Quad and Sweet Tea could have some accountability in that particular situation. However, I don't know. For me, my understanding was it's more about the physical fight, unless more happened that we are not seeing. So now, this is the part of the whole episode that gagged me. Dr. G, Dr. Eugene, and Dr. Scott basically had a sit down. They were talking about everything that happened. So Dr. Eugene was talking about the whole police being called. Now, Dr. G was, of course, defending his position, talking about he's grown. He can't be out here trying to hate people, and that this could take up to 90 days in jail, fine, or probation. So it's pretty serious. So Dr. Eugene was like, but did he touch you? And this is the thing. I feel like in our community, if somebody did not physically make contact, we don't see it as a big deal. It's like almost happened. But then I guess if you think about it in the situation of if someone tried to unalive you, right? Attempted murder is an issue, right? You're not going to be like, oh, the person didn't successfully murder me, so it's cool. We can go our separate ways. That is not exactly the reality of stuff. But I think we have been desensitized to physical violence or attempt at physical violence if no one got seriously hurt. I could almost swear that if somebody got seriously hurt, the whole conversation would be different. But because nobody was seriously hurt, physically at least, everybody is trying to make it seem that Dr. Eugene is going over the top by getting or trying to get this restraining order or whatever, or calling the cops. So the girlies came over to Quad's house. Now, I will say, first of all, I don't know what Heavenly was wearing, and she was talking about her coochie. We don't want to know about your coochie, honey. Like, this is not that kind of show. If you want to be on Love and Hip Hop, just say that, okay? Last I checked, this was Married to Medicine, so please stop declassing the show. This is the part that, for me, I was a little bit confused about. Toya was basically saying she feels like as a mature group, we can all put our differences aside and have a good night. I get that. But if someone tried to physically attack another person Don't blame the other person for not feeling comfortable to be in their space. Let's be clear. They were the ones that were physically or almost physically attacked. So the person that almost physically attacked the other person is likely to be cool about it because they were the one in the position of power. However, if you were on the receiving end of someone almost attacking you physically, forgive me for not being keen on being in your or at your event. So I felt like Toya needed to have a little bit more grace, especially for Sweet Tea and Dr. G in that situation. Now, I don't know what else is happening behind the scenes, but from what I am seeing, I feel like Toya is not having enough grace for Sweet Tea in this situation. I do think it was interesting, though, that Mimi also said that she feels like there was a lack of accountability from Sweet Tea's perspective, which is what is making me feel like, is there some sort of arrangement to try to push Sweet Tea out? Because I don't understand why you're saying there's a lack of accountability. For what exactly? What did you guys want her to be accountable for that she wasn't accountable for? I need a bit more context about that because I don't think we have all of the context being shown here. I do also think it's interesting that Toya says that if she has to pick in that situation, she'll pick Quad. My thing is, girl, just last season, you wanted to exit or have Quad exit the group. Then all of a sudden, now you're out here talking about you choose Quad, which is why I feel like it's almost like these women are a bunch of flip-floppers. It's almost like, okay, at some point we want to get rid of Quad. They all decide we get rid of Quad because Quad is the one we don't like right now. Then very soon now Quad is back in. So it's like, who don't we like or who do we like least? Okay, who do we like the least? Sorry. Sweet Tea. Okay, so let's get Sweet Tea pushed out. That is what it is starting to feel like. It's like you guys all love to have one enemy and gang up on someone and then try to push them out and then do that again. It's like we've seen the pattern with Mariah, with Quad, now with Sweet Tea. It is a pattern. And as much as I feel like, yeah, Phaedra was trying to go to Real Housewives of Atlanta and whatnot, what she said about these people are right. They are mean girls and they come together, in my opinion, and then decide who the scapegoat is for that season and then go after that person. But I feel like they're not going to do it to Quad again because they've seen that Quad has a lot of fans who are riding for her. But if Quad didn't have like vocal fans, she would have been pushed out the same way Quad pushed Mariah out, in my opinion. Now, the last scene gave nothing. It was basically Phaedra turning down being in the group. She basically called out Heavenly and said, mean girl, all that kind of stuff. I don't think anything Phaedra said is wrong. I do feel like Heavenly knew what she was doing. She didn't tell her that Apollo's wife was going to be there. She just said Apollo. So let's be clear. You brought his wife. So you knew exactly what you were doing. And then when everything escalated, was there any opportunity or anything for you to step in to try to calm things down, try to look out for Phaedra? No. There wasn't. You guys probably enjoyed Shireen and Apollo coming after Phaedra. That's what you wanted. You wanted her to work for you guys so that you guys don't have to do much for the season. And she's like, I ain't doing it, in my opinion. Now, that is all I want to talk to you guys about. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you believe that Sweet Tea is being isolated by members of the Married to Medicine cast? Or do you think that Sweet Tea is the one isolating herself? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Give it a like, share, and let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye.